So the next problem is number 6, and you'll see that we've got two triangles with one right angle over here, and I drew in the other right angle because you know these are vertical angles. So this bottom triangle also has to have a right angle, and also we know that's true because these two lines are perpendicular if there was a right angle over here, which makes all these angles right angles by the definition of perpendicular lines, because they are lines that meet in right angles. So now we've got ourselves two right triangles, and we've got on each triangle a hypotenuse is congruent. It's really important to be able to recognize that the hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle, so you know that we definitely have corresponding hypotenuses that are equal and a corresponding leg that is equal, so that by hypotenuse leg we can say triangle number 1 is congruent to triangle number 2, and we say that by hypotenuse leg. Let's take a look at triangle number 7, the two triangles here for number 7, and we've got ourselves again two right triangles, and we know more than that they're right triangles. We know that this double marked angle is congruent to this double marked angle, and this triple marked angle is congruent to this triple marked angle. So we actually have all three angles congruent because a right angle is always congruent to another right angle. That was one of the theorems we talked about once. So we've got angle, angle, angle here. So are these two triangles congruent or not? No. Okay, so triangle 1 is not congruent to triangle number 2 because angle, angle, angle is not a congruence criteria. Okay, so we cannot say that the two triangles are congruent. Let's go over to triangle set number 8. And this again is a little tricky. So we've got ourselves two triangles. We've got a corresponding side that's equal. Looks like we've got another corresponding side perhaps that's equal. And we've also got an angle that's equal. But they don't correspond. Okay, it's very important to notice that however you try to make up the correspondence, you cannot have these two triangles being congruent, because in this left triangle we've got a side and then an included angle and another side, which makes the left triangle SAS. And in the right triangle we also have two sides and an angle that are congruent, but this angle is not an included angle. Okay, the angle should be, if it were to be congruent, the angle should be over here where my pen is pointing. If that angle was over here, we would have two congruent triangles by side, angle, side. But because the angle is outside of these two sides where the two sides meet, then this is another example of side-side angle. And therefore, triangle 1 is not congruent to triangle 2. Okay, it's really important. Keep in mind, it's not just that they have a side, and an angle congruent, but they have to be corresponding, which means they have to be in the same order within the triangle, like an SAS here and an SAS on the right. If you have them like SAS and SSA, they're not corresponding. There is no congruence. Let's go on to number 9. Okay, number 9, we have a side that's congruent. We have another side that's congruent. And we have finally an angle that's congruent. But again, these are not corresponding sides and angles, because in the left we've got side, angle, side. The angle that is congruent is included between the two sides. Whereas on the right triangle, the angle that is congruent is not included between the two sides. So this would be a side-side angle, and therefore here triangle 1 is not congruent to triangle 2. Not congruent. We have to draw a line through it. It's not congruent. And finally, let's take a look at number 10. We've got a triangle on the top and a triangle on the bottom. And along with me, you should mark that this is a right angle as well, because obviously this is a linear pair, and they are supplemental. They add up to 180. And if this is 90, then this has to be 90 as well, so that they add up to 180. Again, that would also be because of perpendicular lines, like we explained earlier. So they're both right triangles. And which side is this? That's congruent to this side here. That is the hypotenuse. Okay, so we have a right triangle with a hypotenuse that's congruent, but is there a leg congruent? Take a look for a moment. Do you see a congruent leg anywhere? Yes, this side that's congruent to itself. Okay, so if we were to separate this a little bit into two triangles just to get a better look at it, what we've got is we've got the hypotenuses that are congruent, and of course this side is congruent to itself. So we would have triangle 1 is congruent to triangle 2 because of hypotenuse leg.